I did a 3-page spreadsheet of all the places where I could get reviews done before I narrowed it down to BookLife. This wasn't just kind of a off-the-cuff decision. This was a fairly elaborate analysis that brought me to your firm. Yeah, I thought BookLife was a good value. It was less expensive than the other editorial review indie oriented sites, and that wasn't the only reason I chose it. But I thought it was a good value compared to all the other places that I looked at, particularly also with the services that I were going to get along with it. The other thing that impressed me was the customer service. Overall, it was a good experience. You got the review done, I think it was 2 weeks ahead of schedule, which again was also impressed with. And the overall schedule from start to finish, I think you promised 6 weeks, where a lot of the editorial review groups typically can be anywhere from a 3 to 6 month lead time. Yours able to turn it around in 4 weeks instead of 6. So you exceeded my expectations. I tend to show everybody my book. You could pre-order it on Amazon or Barnes and Nobles. It's called The Silent Side: The Art of Undetected Killing. The headline is an assassin's refusal to kill turns deadly. And I actually have a good quote for you for this. It's a fast-paced, jet-setting thriller which invites the reader to root for these likable killers' success. And that's part of your BookLife review. The primary reason for getting a review is an indie author. Having any kind of reviews is important in order to make a sale. But when you're first starting out, you've never published a book before, the question becomes, where do you get a review, and an honest review? So there's a lot of review services that you can pay for. Unfortunately, too many of those are scams, and then not even accepted by places like Amazon. There's hundreds of bloggers. A lot of them charge for those services. And you have to appeal to each one in order to be able to get a review. You can use ARC readers, but if you're just starting out, you really don't have an ARC network. You can use places like NetGallery, but that's expensive. Traditional media, newspapers and magazines and so forth, tend to favor the big five. And then there are editorial reviews. And there's 3 services for editorial reviews: Publishers Weekly, Kirkus, and Forward. But they too seem to have a favor to the big five and to established authors. So they're free, but it's kind of like winning the lottery if you have a chance to actually get a review from any of those. So each one of those then have ones that are designed just for indie authors. In the case of Publishers Weekly, it's BookLife, and then Kirkus has Kirkus Indie, and then Clarion. They're all expensive, but the question is, how do you narrow that down to just one if you're really just trying to get one good editorial review that you can then use on your website, you can use on places like Amazon, you can use on others that can really kind of justify your book. So my final selection was to go with BookLife, and I'm glad I did. But the things that appealed to me about BookLife, one, the reviewers were from Publishers Weekly, and so I have a lot of respect for those institution and its history, and then obviously the reviewers. So having a chance to tap into that network was really important to me. They assign your book to somebody who specializes in your genre, so that you're not, in my case, having a thriller. You're not being sent over to somebody who specializes in romance. They promised an honest review, which is always kind of frightening as a debut author. I mean, you want an honest review, but then you're kind of afraid that they may not like it, and the review you get back is not going to be what you wanted to hear. They promised a detailed review, at least 300 words. I think in my case, my review is 344 words. So they're not just giving you headlines. They're really delving deep into your book, the plot, what they like, what they didn't like, and having that kind of a depth of review is pretty important. I think the key thing is just getting, for me, the book validation. The people who had read it before knew me. There's no reason to think that they would give me not honest feedback, but there's always that tendency. So it's important to me to be able to see if the book really had some legs in the market by having somebody who does this for a living could validate your book or tell you that it wasn't that good as you hoped. Um, they also grade the features, which I thought was interesting. Things like the cover design, interior design, marketing, copy, that kind of stuff. And so you get kind of an honest feedback of how those factors are that I think really translates to somebody either on the internet or on the bookstore, how they'll judge the book as well. They provide comp authors and comp titles, which again was a difficult process for me. I thought I'd picked out some good comp authors and titles that will be useful in marketing, but they provided some new ones that I hadn't thought about. But that'll become important when you do keywords, for example, like with Amazon advertising and others, because what you want to try to do is get readers who like certain books. They'll like yours, and you want to use those keywords to be able to attract those kind of readers. They also provide the opportunity of not making it public. So if you like what you see and you want to have it made public, you can. But if you don't, for whatever reason, you have that choice. So that kind of gives you a safety net if the review wasn't up to your expectations. Once it is made public, then they'll syndicate that to different places that can be accessed by libraries and others that want to see what information they can about your book before ordering it. And then I think the biggest thing is being able to provide a quote review. So you can actually tie those into your website, into places like Amazon and so forth, and actually use that quote as part of the editorial review section, which again adds credibility to the book. And hopefully other indie publishers or indie authors will use BookLife and have the same experience that I did.